All right, we did it. The 2-year course, culminating with this episode. I'm still going to do some recap episodes and reflections here and there, but this is the culmination of 2 years of work, putting in daily reflections for you all to tap into for free anywhere you are, anywhere you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram, where we'll continue to post, and every podcast application and YouTube, where we'll continue to post these episodes so that you can start anywhere, or you could start in episode 1, but each weekday we will continue to upload these episodes, this 2-year course on repeat. So how to end this 2-year project, this 2-year course this might be the last one and you did every single one before it. This might even be your first episode. And the end is your beginning. And if that's the case for you, that would be fitting, because there are so many beautiful beginnings hidden amongst the ends in our lives and in our stories. But as I have thought through hundreds and hundreds of episodes, hundreds of days of recording these, how to end this 2-year course, and it was so simple. It took about maybe 10 seconds to realize, well, there's only one way to end it. And it ties very closely to how it all started. If you have not started with episode 1, or if you have not checked out episode 1, I highly recommend checking out episode 1, which is the intro to this philosophy. The whole philosophy summed up in about 15 minutes. And this is not a redux of that episode, but I am going to pull out 2 things from that episode. The most practical contribution of this philosophy in our practical daily lives, the shallow end of the pool, and the observation that this philosophy, thousands and thousands of years of sages re-proclaiming the same thing over and over and over again, many times in many different traditions, as the Rig Veda says, the truth is one, sages call it by many names. I'll also touch on what this philosophy says and has said for thousands of years in the deep end of the pool. So, from the beginning to the end, the shallow to the deep, the practical to the profound, there is really only one way to wrap up a project like this, and that is to talk about the intellect and the self. First, on the intellect. The central contribution of this philosophy to our practical lives is that we have within ourselves 2 inner equipments. We have 3 equipments to navigate daily life: our body, our mind, and our intellect. The 2 inner equipments, the mind and the intellect, this philosophy outlines explicitly in a way that I've never heard in any other discipline, any other philosophy, even modern psychology, which is barely scratching at it with dual systems thinking, system 1, system 2, thinking fast, thinking slow, type of dichotomy. It's still not as explicit as this philosophy, where it says that you don't just have a mind to navigate the world. The mind guides the body, yes. But we have this other equipment, this subtler equipment called the intellect, to guide the mind, that then guides the body. The intellect, as I've said countless times throughout this project, and is highlighted in, and here's another plug for Vedanta treatise, if you have not checked it out yet. That is my highest wish for listeners of this podcast project, is to graduate to reading Vedanta treatise, even just 2 or 3 pages a day, and go to the real deep well itself, versus just these fun infotainment episodes on your favorite podcast player or YouTube of Daily Vedantic. This is meant to be an on-ramp to the real thing, Vedanta treatise, or ideally the e-learning course, the Ashram's app that I study with every day. And it's a 3-year course that I've done. I'm on the 5th round of it, and I get more value each morning now than I did the first 4 rounds of daily reflection on this timeless philosophy. And it is, and I say this quite often, it is the biggest reason that in starting 3 companies, all running 3 different, very different businesses, in making music every day, 3 young children, 2 philosophy podcasts. Well, today will be the last time that I'm able to say 2 philosophy podcasts, because this will be the last episode of this 2-year course. Writing a few different books and surfing quite a bit mixed in, to be able to do all of those basically effortlessly, without stress or strain. The only thing that I can point back to is this philosophy, and reflecting on it every day before I start to do anything else. So paradoxical and ironic that starting your day with stillness leads to a dynamism throughout the rest of the day that you could hardly imagine. But that is the truth. That is the case. All dynamism, all dynamic individuals that we revere throughout history, nearly all of them had a practice of intense, deliberate stillness in the morning, craving those early morning hours before the rest of the world just kind of sucks you into their plans for you. Even if it is just 15, 20 minutes of listening to an episode like this, or reading 2 or 3 pages of Vedanta treatise, that grounding wire to get rid of all of the static that the world will throw on you the rest of the day. That grounding wire, that point of stillness, allows for, like I said, a dynamism that you can hardly imagine. But you can see it for yourself within 10 days of starting your day with, get your cup of coffee, listen to an episode like this, pen to paper, journal on any of the points that might have resonated with you. And that is a perfect example of the application of the intellect. It's often described as the adult in the room within this philosophy. So the adult in the room, the intellect, with the mind being like a child. It is beautiful to have a child in your home. It is nearly impossible to articulate how beautiful, how special that is. But you never leave a child home alone, a 4-year-old home alone. There's always an adult present, watching, making sure nothing goes off the rails. And sure, you can leave the room for a little bit, but you never just check out for a few days and let the 4-year-old run the show. Similarly, whenever we check out and just let the mind run the show, we get into a whole lot of trouble. The intellect is described within this philosophy as the capacity to see the end and the beginning. The intellect says, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll try working out and seeing the end and the beginning, and maybe that's going to generate energy within me, even if it's, and generate perhaps more dynamism with my work, with my relationships, with my parenting, with my significant other, even though I'm taking time away from them to go to the gym. Or it's, you know what, each morning I'm going to try that for 3 days. I'll just try waking up early before the sun comes up, 15 minutes, cup of coffee, journal, listen to an episode like this, read a few pages of Vedanta treatise. You could read St. Augustine. You could read the Torah. You could read the Gospels. But see what happens. And as you gain that experience, it's no longer just someone else's words for it. It's corroboratory evidence. You know what? Actually, wow, that made a huge impact on my day. You start to apply that again and again and again, and maybe you wake up and you're 2 years in, 22 years in, to the intellect applying itself, applying its guidance over the mind. And not only do you have a dynamic life, but it's stress-free. It feels almost effortless, like a surfer gliding down a 5-foot wave, doing a little bit of work in the beginning and then letting the wave do all the work after that. That is what life isn't just, it's not just possible to feel that. That is what life is supposed to be like. I often say that if you are not astonished continually by life unfolding before you, then you're doing it wrong. It should not be once or twice a year you're astonished at some bit of good fortune or pleasure, or things just working out, if you're not astonished continually by life, the life that is unfolding in front of you, then you're doing it wrong. Because it is not just for the lucky few. Our natural state is to be gliding on that metaphorical wave, being like, how is this all happening? And it's happening because, like the surfer, you're working with nature. You're working with the universe. You're surrendering. Maybe putting in a bit of work, some paddles, some practice, the pop-up to get on the board, but then your rail locks in. You know how it works to get locked in, but you're continually astonished by how unreal the feeling is when your nature aligns with nature itself. When you align yourself with the universe, and that is all the application of the intellect over the mind, over the body, over what is sweet or pleasurable in the beginning, but is ultimately bitter in the end, over what is a shortcut, what is instant gratification. By all means, go eat a great donut, go get some ice cream, sit back, let the mind, just take the mind for a walk and turn on a great movie. It doesn't need to be, and it shouldn't be, the adult in the room just providing harsh criticisms to the mind. After a while, the harmony between the intellect and the mind and the body is one of the most beautiful things to watch unfold. So, go have that sweet thing, but see the end in the beginning and recognize, you know what, one donut is enough. One scoop of ice cream is enough. You know, that episode was great. Do I need to binge watch something for 4 or 5 hours? And seeing the end in the beginning, recognizing that, you know, it's going to destroy my sleep and I'll end up having a pretty bad day at work if I indulge. Seeing that end in the beginning, that is the application of the intellect. The body, the mind, and the intellect. With the intellect often being described as the banks of the river, the mind, and all of us. If you're listening to this, you have a powerful mind. Especially the people that find these kinds of concepts interesting, that can stretch their imagination beyond what is conventionally said about us, our world, or what's important in the universe, what's important in our lives, and stretch beyond what society or culture around us tells us, and start to think for yourself. You likely have a very powerful mind, but a powerful river with weak banks floods the plainlands, kills all the livestock. You can hardly build a village, much less a shack on the side of a river that has weak banks, because it will get destroyed. On the other hand, if you have strong banks, you can build multiple civilizations. You can build multiple massive cities on the side of a river with strong banks. So this philosophy calls us each day to develop, to cultivate our intellects, and then to apply them. See the fruits of that application, and then you're done. It's like catching your first wave. You're like, wow, that worked so well. That was so much easier than I thought it would be. Wow, that just out of the pleasure. Like people that cold plunge, and then notice, man, 15 minutes later, after a minute in cold water, for 4 or 5 hours, I feel unbelievable. It's no longer discipline, it's knowledge. It's still the application of the intellect, but it's not blind faith. It is the evidence of, wow, these timeless truths seem to have a lot of truth to them. On the other side of things, beyond the practical, the most practical aspect of this philosophy, the body, mind, intellect, the breakdown of our 3 equipments to navigate the world, the 2 inner equipments to navigate the world, and the importance of developing the intellect every day, like you would any muscle. On the other side, the deep end of the pool is, what does this philosophy, the culmination of this philosophy, tell us? Woven throughout this project said maybe every few episodes, underscored again and again, from this philosophy to nearly every major world tradition. I touched on it in a few episodes ago around the book, The Essence of Christ and his message of oneness, where 5 different verses of Christ's final prayer amongst his disciples is asking them to recognize their oneness with him, their oneness with God. For some reason, that has been lost. It's in every Bible, and yet it's been lost from the larger canon of the messages that get repeated over and over and over again within a tradition like Christianity. It's the reason that Christian mysticism is such a small sect, or you have non-dual aspects of Christianity like Greek Orthodox Hesychism, which is a small sect. You have Sufism and the mystical traditions within Islam, the mystical traditions of Kabbalism within Judaism, the non-duality of Buddhism. This philosophy exists in all of these major traditions, and yet it remains a small, underrepresented aspect of all of these major traditions to date. But with the access to information, instead of needing intermediaries, but the access directly to the information, like you right now could ask, can you give a breakdown of what Christ means when he's praying for our recognition of oneness in his high priestly prayer, the prayer of the Last Supper? As we get more and more information at our own fingertips and expertise that you can tap into with any AI chatbot, and you don't have to tell me twice that it gets many things wrong, but the trajectory is undoubtable. That expertise, that research, our own research, information at our fingertips is exploding to a degree we've never seen before in humanity. And I think the German priest Karl Rahner, I think he said it best in the 50s, in 1950s, he said, the Christian of the future will either be a mystic or won't exist at all. I think Advaita Vedanta, this most ancient of all living philosophies, the oldest philosophy in terms of continuous study on the planet, I think it's also going to be the philosophy of the future in 100 years, because it maps so well to the heart of these messages, nearly every major tradition, even if these specific messages have been lost, like Christ petitioning 5 times in a 26-verse prayer for us to recognize our oneness. Even though it may have been lost, the 4 oldest textbooks in the world, the philosophical textbooks in the world, the Vedas, and how they're nearly unknown by philosophy majors in the West. I think these things are going to change quite radically in the coming decades. And what do all of these things, the Vedas, Vedanta, the essence of a message of oneness, what do they all point to? Vedanta means the end of the Vedas, the culmination of the Vedas. Veda means knowledge. What is the culmination of this philosophy? And according to this philosophy, take it or leave it, the culmination of knowledge itself, what does it point to? It points to one simple but infinitely profound observation, that you are what you are seeking. How could I wrap up this 2-year course any other way than to end it on the end of all knowledge according to this philosophy? Tat Tvam Asi, the 3 Sanskrit words, the Mahavakya, that sums up the entirety of this philosophy in 3 words, that thou art. This simple, profound, seemingly unthinkable, but perennial message that you are what you are seeking. can't end this project any other way than to point to what this philosophy over and over and over again points to. And it's not a phrase. And even though it might look like it at first blush, it is not a phrase. It is not a verse. It is not scripture. It's not philosophy. The subject matter of every episode of the Daily Vedantic, every Upanishadic text in the Vedas, every line of the Gita, the subject matter is you. The you deep beneath all of the delusions and assumptions of who you think you are. When I say this philosophy points to you, who you really are, that you are what you are seeking, I'm not saying you, the personality that you think you are, that we think we are, speaker included. I'm not saying it is this personality or individual, that you are in this personality individualized sense, the center of it all, that this personality, James, or you, John, Jane, Divya, or David, whoever you think you are, that's not what I'm talking about. That would be the height of ego inflation and megalomania to think that that personality is all that is. When in actuality, this philosophy, over and over and over and over again, explicitly says that isn't. But what you are deep down, that is, was, and will always be. The next episode that we release will be episode 1, as we continually release these episodes in this 2-year course. But as I've said before, you can reach out on Instagram, DM us at any point in time. We still respond to them. We will respond to them for years and decades to come. We reply to every message, try to reply to even every comment. So we will continue to do that. I will personally continue to do that and look forward to seeing this community grow. But even more than that, I'll really look forward to seeing you all. So go follow us on Instagram, where you can get news about upcoming live events as they continue to unfold and we invest in those. And follow us on YouTube or Spotify or your favorite podcast player to get access to the episodes you might not have heard yet. This has been the 2-year course known as the Daily Vedantic. And I look forward to seeing you in person at a live event soon.